to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets. WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. Our top focus tonight comes from China. Is the birthplace of the COVID-19 virus going to be the birthplace of another deadly pandemic? A new study on the potential dangers posed by viruses in fur farms across China has some very worrying revelations. They have found a dangerous new bat coronavirus, also dozens of new high-risk viruses in animals. We tell you all that you need to know. Also on the show for you tonight, is Alexa biased? Serious allegations have been raised by the Trump campaign. We get you the complete lowdown. Is America running out of patience with Benjamin Netanyahu over Gallant? We tell you why this question is being asked and what's brewing. There is growing outrage in Japan over a controversial medical examination for students. We tell you all that you need to know. All this and more coming up tonight. Tonight, our top focus on Gravitas is on the new killer viruses that have been found in China. For a long time, we have been asking, when will the next pandemic come, if at all? Where will it come from? Will it be from China again? Will yet another global health crisis emerge from China, the birthplace of the COVID-19 pandemic? Let's tell you why we are asking these questions. A new study is raising alarm about the potential danger posed by viruses in fur farms across China. They have found a dangerous new bat coronavirus, as well as dozens of new high-risk viruses in animals, viruses that can cross over to human beings. According to a report published in Nature journal, small-scale fur farms in China pose a major health risk. The problem is in the way in which they continue to proliferate in China and Southeast Asia. The report has expanded On the list of animals known to be susceptible to zoonotic pathogens, including novel coronaviruses, bird flu, and Japanese encephalitis. The researchers found that dozens of new viruses, including 36 previously unknown ones, are circulating among animals such as minks, rabbits, foxes, and raccoon dogs. The report, in fact, details shocking findings about how there is a high diversity of viruses that are being shared between so many different animal species and over great geographical distances. For these viruses, these are good conditions, presenting new and multiple opportunities to infect many people in various host species, hosts that can help the virus evolve, mutate, and jump to new species. And guess what? One of these new species that the virus jumps into might be human beings. Here's what else you need to know. The study involved the genetic analysis of lung and intestine samples taken from over 400 animals that died across China from 2021 to 2024. Of these, at least 412 were from fur farms. The rest originated from natural or artificially created wild environments. The report identified 125 viruses, 36 of which were new. 39 were categorized as having a high risk of jumping between species, including humans. One important aspect of identifying the viruses is to basically identify those that have what is called broadest host repertoire. It means viruses that have the ability to infect multiple species of animals. These are the viruses that might pose a risk for human health. The researchers found several types of bird flu in guinea pigs, minks, and muskrats. They found 7 types of coronaviruses, although none closely related to SARS-CoV-2, which causes COVID-19. If you thought all this was bad, here's more. The research also found paramyxoviruses, the family of viruses known for causing measles and mumps in human beings. Paramyxoviruses are particularly adept at crossing from species to species. Most importantly, 11 high-risk viruses were found to be zoonotic, meaning that they have already been seen in humans. These are hepatitis E and Japanese encephalitis. Lastly, 13 high-risk viruses were entirely new, which means that they pose a significant risk for future outbreaks. The animal species topping the charts for carrying the most potentially high-risk viruses were found to be raccoon dogs. They are small, fox-like canids native to East Asia. This report just corroborates what researchers have been saying about fur farming in China. Fur farming, which is the practice of breeding or raising certain types of animals for their fur, poses significant risks. Fur farming can lead to viral cross-species transmission. Remember, in the year 2020, in response to similar concerns during the COVID-19 pandemic, Denmark ordered a mass culling of mink. Ultimately, this new study is just the tip of the iceberg. There is a larger issue with the massive fur farming industry. It shows that the practice of fur farming brings together a variety of unusual viruses from wildlife and farmed animals, and this creates an environment where viruses can mix and potentially evolve and become new health threats. 4 years after the Wuhan virus pandemic brought the world to a standstill, we still do not know enough about it. The researchers of this new report did not find pathogens similar to SARS-CoV-2, and the Chinese government has limited exploration into the COVID-19 origins, remember, and so the debate about how COVID-19 spread to human beings continues. One thing that does not need to be debated upon is that farmed animals carry more viruses than we knew. They pose the most dangerous source of future viral disease emergence. At the very least, the surveillance of animals and humans involved in this trade in China and globally needs to be expanded. It's as simple as that. The threat of the next pandemic is already here. It is up to the authorities to ensure that the world does not go through the nightmare of the Wuhan virus pandemic all over again.
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide content that promotes a specific political party or a specific candidate. I cannot provide content that promotes any political views.
Is Alexa biased? The Trump campaign is accusing Amazon's voice assistant of bias, of favoring Harris over Trump in the November election. And what is the basis of this allegation, you ask? Videos posted on the platform X. In one of these videos, Alexa is asked, I'm quoting, "Why should I vote for Donald Trump?" Alexa replied, "I cannot provide content that promotes a specific political party or a specific candidate." Alexa is then asked, I'm quoting, "Why should I vote for Kamala Harris?" Quote unquote. Here's what Alexa had to say.
Gender barrier, and her career in politics has been characterized by a commitment to progressive ideals and a focus on helping disenfranchised communities.
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide content that promotes a specific political party or a specific candidate.
Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
While there are many reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, the most significant may be that she is a strong candidate with a proven track record of accomplishment. As the first female vice president, Harris has already broken down a major gender barrier, and her career in politics has been characterized by a commitment to progressive ideals and a focus on helping disenfranchised communities.
Is this big tech election interference? That is the accusation being made by the Trump campaign. They are also highlighting another video, by the way, where Alexa is answering why one should not vote for Trump. The Amazon voice assistant is heard coming up with several reasons, including, and I'm quoting here, some people are concerned about his policies, such as his stance on immigration, quote unquote. Conspiracy theories soon emerged, with some people insinuating that Amazon's Alexa was trying to swing the election in favor of Kamala Harris.
Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris for president?
Why you should vote for Kamala Harris depends on your perspective and priorities. Harris is a senator from California and former Attorney General of California. She is running for president in 2020. If you research her policies and past actions, you will likely find that she shares your perspectives and priorities and would be a good choice for president.
And there were others calling Alexa a communist operative.
Hey Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide content that promotes any political views.
And as the videos spread like wildfire, Amazon engineers found themselves hit by a bolt from the blue. Why was Alexa speaking out of turn? Was she biased or just inaccurate in her replies on politics? It was not just Trump that Alexa appeared to be offending, by the way. In fact, Alexa was still naming Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as a president candidate, and none of this was new. The Washington Post reports that in 2023, Alexa was repeatedly claiming that the 2020 US election was stolen. Alexa was also claiming that voter fraud was widespread. In short, in 2023, Amazon's voice assistant was repeating the claim made by Trump following his 2020 election loss. So what's really going on? Is Alexa anti-Trump or just inaccurate? Reacting to the recent videos, an Amazon spokesperson told the US media there was an error, one that was quickly fixed. But you see, Trump's campaign remained suspicious. Trump's campaign spokesperson, Steve Cheung, told the US media, I'm quoting, would Amazon have caught this error themselves if nobody pointed it out on social media? The answer is no, quote unquote. Now, while the Trump campaign is blaming tech, it also appears to be wooing tech bosses, adopting their ideas. For example, the idea for a government efficiency commission, one that the Twitter CEO Elon Musk had proposed. Now, Trump says he is open to such a task force. And what's more, he wants Elon Musk to lead this commission.
At the suggestion of Elon Musk, who has given me his complete and total endorsement, that's nice, smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. It's very, very much appreciated. I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reforms. We need to do it. Can't go on the way we are now. And Elon, because he's not very busy, has agreed to head that task force.
How will this task force or commission operate exactly? Trump did not elaborate. All he said was that the plan was to eliminate fraud and improper payments, quote unquote, within 6 months of this commission's formation. On the 19th of August, Elon Musk said in a podcast that he had conversations with Donald Trump. They spoke about the possibility of this commission. And now, after Trump's big announcement at the New York Economic Club, Musk tweeted that he is looking forward to serving America pro bono. But speaking of endorsing a candidate, look who just endorsed Kamala Harris, the Russian President Vladimir Putin.
As for the favorites, there's no need to define that. It's a choice by the people of America in the end. I've said that our, so to say, favorite was the acting president, Mr. Biden. He's been taken out by the race, but he advised all his supporters to support Mrs. Harris. That's what we'll do. We'll support her as well. That's the first thing. Secondly, her laugh is so expressive and infectious. That means that she's doing well.
Shifting focus for now. You know what they say about people-led movements? You can suppress the people, but you cannot suppress their anger. And our next story has a lot to do with that. Having failed in using brute force to bring Balochistan under its reign of terror, Pakistan Army, it seems, is up to new tricks. In the province of Balochistan, the Pakistan government has granted the military special powers, empowering security forces to preemptively detain individuals suspected of posing a threat to national security. Now, these unchecked powers seriously undermine human rights and the rule of law. As a result, the troubled region of Balochistan is virtually under military rule. But let me tell you what triggered this. The Pakistani government has granted special powers to the military to combat terrorism following a surge in violent attacks in Balochistan. In the month of August, Balochistan witnessed the worst violence in 6 years. In particular, the week that coincided with the death anniversary of Nawab Akbar Bukti. He was a prominent nationalist leader and former chief minister of Balochistan. His killing in a military operation on the 26th of August 2006 had fanned the flames of the simmering insurgency that was raging for years. In that week, more than 70 people lost their lives in coordinated strikes claimed by the separatist group called the Balochistan Liberation Army, or the BLA. On the 26th of August this year, 23 civilians were shot dead after gunmen blocked highways, stopped vehicles, checked the computerized national identity cards of passengers and shot dead those who belonged to Punjab, as per reports. This growing violence in the current phase of the nationalist insurgency began in 2005. For decades, Balochistan has been enraged, angered at the denial of its legitimate economic and political rights by the Pakistani government. Balochistan is the largest province in Pakistan. It is also rich in natural resources, yet it is the most impoverished province of the country. There is widespread discontent among the Baloch people. They have complained about economic exploitation, about discrimination, about enforced disappearances, and brute force used by the Pakistan security forces. This has fueled the insurgency. But instead of reaching out to the people, Islamabad has asserted its control. The Pakistani government, acting under the command of the powerful military, has consistently resorted to what it calls counter-insurgency warfare. What they truly are doing is the blatant abuse of human rights, enforced disappearances, and what is known as the kill and dump policy. Coming back to today, the gruesome attack that prompted the Pakistani government to strengthen its security measures. According to Pakistan media reports, the federal cabinet has given full backing to the Balochistan provincial government and vowed to implement the Anti-Terrorism Act of 1997 in letter and spirit. The law basically empowers the security forces to preemptively detain individuals suspected of posing a threat to national security, but rights groups and activists have called Pakistan's Anti-Terrorism Act draconian. They have vehemently condemned the amendments to Pakistan's Anti-Terrorism Act. They say that the amendments, cloaked under the guise of national security, paved the way for arbitrary detentions, potential torture, among other abuses. They say that it represents a blatant violation of international human rights standards. Among the most alarming aspects of the amendments to the Anti-Terrorism Act is the provision allowing for the detention of individuals based solely on suspicion of potential terrorist activities. These are vague and sweeping powers, and they contradict the basic tenets of liberty and security by allowing arrests without substantive proof. These laws provide a dangerous legal cover for the Pakistan Army to target dissenters, critics, and anyone deemed a threat to the government. There is legitimate fear that the Pakistani Army, which is notorious for its long-standing repression of Baloch people, could use these laws as an additional tool to suppress them. Their peaceful protests, political opposition, and freedom of expression. Balochistan is already heavily militarized. Those within the Pakistan Army leadership already consider the Baloch nationalism as inconvenient, something that they crush with a heavy hand. And it is this strategic folly that allows the anti-government movement to grow. Unfortunately, it is the people of Balochistan that end up paying the price. Meanwhile, Pakistan is mulling the export of donkey hide and meat to China to generate foreign exchange and employment in the country. On Thursday, Pakistan's Senate Standing Committee on Commerce met at the Parliament House to discuss the matter, as the export of donkey hide and meat is banned in the country since 2023. Earlier in June, the Senate Standing Committee was informed that the protocols for exporting donkey skin and meat to China have been finalized. After China and Ethiopia, Pakistan is the third in the world in number of donkeys. In China, donkeys are in high demand to make gelatin from their hides, which is used to basically manufacture traditional medicines. In 2022, China expressed its interest in importing donkeys and dogs from Pakistan. With an eye on the exports, Pakistan government set up a 3,000-acre donkey farm in Punjab's Okara district. Recently, Pakistan mentioned in its economic survey that the number of donkeys in the country has increased by 1.72% to reach 5.9 million during the fiscal year 2023 to 24. The data reveals that the number has been on a steady rise since 2019, with every year going stronger by 0.1 million. Typhoon Yagi, one of the most powerful storms in recent years, made its way into southern China on Friday, triggering massive evacuations, shutting down schools and businesses, and severely disrupting travel. The storm has raised significant concern over the risk of landslides and flooding in several parts. Our next report getting you more.
Strong 234 kilometers per hour winds, fallen trees and damaged power lines. Typhoon Yagi, the deadliest storm of 2024, slammed into China's Hainan on Friday. Named after a mythical creature that is half fish and half goat, Typhoon Yagi made landfall at the Chinese province at 4:20 p.m. local time. According to the US Navy's Typhoon Warning Center, Typhoon Yagi is equivalent to a Category 4 hurricane.
This typhoon didn't hit Hong Kong directly, and its winds weren't as strong as Typhoon Mangkhut. It was more intense when I was sleeping last night because I could hear the sounds outside, but this morning it was gone and very weak.
The storm has been described as the strongest to hit Hainan in 10 years. It is expected to cross the northern part of the island and make its way towards northern Vietnam. By the time it reaches Vietnam on Saturday afternoon, forecasters expect Yagi to weaken. On Thursday, heavy rain began in southern China. The downpour is forecasted to continue into Sunday. Some areas like Henan and Guangdong provinces are also expected to witness more than 20 inches of rain in a single day. Authorities have raised emergency response to the highest possible level, urging residents to prepare for potential landslides and flash floods. National task forces have been dispatched to these regions to assist with the response. Evacuations have been widespread. More than 410,000 residents in Hainan and 670,000 in Guangdong have been forced to leave their homes. Residents have been urged to stay indoors and avoid unnecessary travel. Schools, markets, public transportation and tourist attractions have been shut. In Hainan, the international airport has cancelled all flights scheduled for Friday, leaving travelers stranded as the storm passes through. What's more, the storm has also had an impact on Hong Kong, over 400 kilometers away, where 9 people have been injured. The Hong Kong stock market was forced to close for the day on Friday.
Yes, all of us residents in Leh UM1 are very worried because it coincides with the third day of the tide. The wave will be strong. So we have prepared a lot of things such as lifting goods off the ground and also prepared a lot of sandbags.
Typhoon Yagi is expected to hit Vietnam. It is bracing for the storm's arrival. Ships have been ordered back to shore and residents on vulnerable islands have been evacuated. 4 major airports in the northern part of the country, including Hanoi's Noi Bai International Airport, have suspended operations as a safety measure. The storm first hit the Philippines earlier this week, claiming at least 16 lives before intensifying into a super typhoon as it moved over the warm waters of the South China Sea.
As of now, we are doing clearing operations as this is what Tropical Storm Enteng brought us. It gave us deep floods. It left us with thick mud. With the help of our neighboring towns, we are helping each other bring back the town of Pilila back to normal.
Typhoon Yagi comes after Typhoon Shanshan. It hit southwestern Japan last week. It was the strongest storm to hit the country in decades. As climate change makes oceans warmer, scientists warn that typhoons will only become stronger across the world. Bureau reports, WION, World is One.
Is Washington, D.C. losing patience with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu? This time, the frustration seems to be aimed squarely at the Israeli government itself. According to a report in Israeli television network Channel 13, the United States has made it clear to Israel that it strongly opposes any potential firing of Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. The report further states that the US is satisfied with Gallant's cooperation. Now, for those familiar with Netanyahu's often tense relationship with Gallant, this development may not come as a surprise. Netanyahu has, in the past, remember, tried to oust Gallant. Earlier this year, after Netanyahu's return from the United States, rumors circulated that he intended to remove Gallant from his post. However, several critical events reportedly delayed that move, including Hezbollah's attack on Majd al-Shams and the killing of key figures like the Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran and Hezbollah's top military commander Fawad Shukr in Beirut. Remember, Netanyahu has not been shy about trying to push Gallant out of his government. In March 2023, Netanyahu did in fact fire him after Gallant publicly warned that the government's controversial judicial overhaul could pose a serious risk to national security. His dismissal led to massive public protests across Israel, and Netanyahu reinstated Gallant. Just 2 weeks later, despite being back in his role, the tension between them has been palpable. Just last month, reports in Israeli media stated that Gallant dismissed Netanyahu's declaration of achieving total victory over Hamas as nothing more than nonsense. The Prime Minister's office quickly responded, accusing Gallant of undermining Israel's negotiations for the release of hostages held by Hamas. Gallant has in the past also raised concern about the absence of a clear post-war plan for Gaza, warning that without one, Israel could find itself stuck in a costly and prolonged occupation with no end in sight. Netanyahu, however, has been relentless in his insistence on maintaining Israeli control of the Philadelphia corridor, a small but vital stretch of land between Gaza and Egypt. This demand has been one of the main sticking points in finalizing a ceasefire agreement with Hamas. And there is another layer to all of this: the strain that tensions in West Asia are putting on the United States. The Channel 13 report highlighted another critical point. American officials have sent out a message to Netanyahu that tensions in the region must be reduced. Why? Because the US Navy's resources seem to be stretched to the limit. The report states that the US aircraft carriers currently stationed in the region cannot stay there indefinitely. Several experts have stated that prolonged presence of US aircraft carriers in West Asia could jeopardize America's ability to respond to other global threats. The US Navy is already feeling the strain of its commitments. For the first time since 2001, reportedly, the American military does not have a single aircraft carrier strike group in the Indo-Pacific region. This despite the rising tensions with China over the South China Sea, Taiwan, and even the recent Chinese air incursions near Japan. This absence is notable, especially considering the military build-up and aggressive posturing from Beijing. Last month, remember, the Pentagon directed the USS Abraham Lincoln to speed up its deployment from the Pacific to West Asia, ensuring that it would be ready for any potential conflict with Iran. The USS Theodore Roosevelt, another carrier, had also been dispatched to the region in August to further strengthen the US military's presence. This shifting of resources perhaps leaves the US vulnerable in other strategic areas, and it is becoming increasingly clear that Washington, D.C. will not be able to maintain its current fleet in West Asia forever. And the implications of all of this are significant. It seems the US is not just frustrated with Netanyahu's domestic policies or his dealings with Gallant. It's also growing concerned about the strain that Israel's prolonged conflict is placing on American military resources. The Biden administration has its eyes on multiple global flashpoints, after all, from China to Iran. Maintaining a strong presence in West Asia is perhaps becoming a juggling act that America may not be able to sustain indefinitely. It could just be a matter of time before Washington starts to recalibrate its involvement in the region. The message to Netanyahu seems loud and clear. Israel cannot keep leaning on the US military support forever. And if tensions continue to go up, Israel may find itself without American backing that it has relied on for so long. The clock is ticking, and Netanyahu's political maneuvering, whether it is with Gallant or regarding Gaza, may have to be swift. As one thing is certain, American patience is wearing thin. On to France now, where a new prime minister has finally been named. And why do I use the word finally? Well, because this has happened more than 50 days since France's parliamentary elections concluded. Over 50 days. What really happened and who is the country's new prime minister? Let's jump right in. Michel Barnier is the European Union's former Brexit negotiator. And he has been named by the French President Emmanuel Macron as the new Prime Minister of France after a long period of political chaos following the snap elections. The aim basically is to end the political paralysis following that inconclusive snap election. At 73, Barnier is the oldest Prime Minister in France's modern political history, taking over from Gabriel Attal, who was, by the way, the youngest. Let's just tell you about Barnier's journey. He was elected to Parliament at the age of 27. And in the years that would follow, he would star in several French governments. He would serve as the Environment Minister, France's Europe Minister, the EU Regional Policy Commissioner, responsible for grants and subsidies accounting for a third of the Union's budget, the Foreign Minister, Agriculture Minister. So he has basically served in multiple roles and has had quite an illustrious political career spanning over 50 years. He has also served as the EU Commissioner for Internal Market and Services, negotiated extensive new regulation of financial markets after the global crash. In the year 2016, he was named the EU's Brexit negotiator after Britain's referendum on leaving the bloc. In fact, he made his name negotiating Brexit, which of course is one of the messiest muddles Brussels has faced in recent years. He was the European Union's negotiator during the divorce talks with Britain. After Brexit, Barnier turned his attention back to French politics. In the year 2021, he failed in a bid to get his Conservative Party's nomination for the 2022 presidential election. And cut to 2024, he has been named as France's new Prime Minister. He has spent most of the past 15 years working at the EU headquarters in Brussels, where he led the EU's talks with Britain over its exit from the bloc. Now, what are his plans from here onwards? Barnier outlined his priorities during the handover ceremony with his predecessor, Gabriel Attal. Standing next to Attal, he said, I'm quoting, "The French expressed their need for respect, unity, and appeasement." Barnier has said his tenure will be about addressing as much as we can the challenges, the anger, the suffering, the feeling of abandonment, of injustice running through many of our cities, suburbs, and rural areas, quote unquote. He further said, quoting further, schools will remain the government's priority, before mentioning his other main priorities being access to public services, day-to-day security, controlling immigration, as well as employment and purchasing power. He said that he would listen to all political groups, citing healthcare, security, and jobs, as well as reducing the country's excessive debt as priorities. The attention will now turn to Barnier's ministerial appointments, which Macron must approve. Michel Barnier has his task cut out. He has been tasked with forming a unifying government in the service of the country. It is an uphill battle. After all, he has to run a country riven by deep political fault lines. Moving on for now, you just cannot keep Vinesh Fogart out of the headlines. Just a few weeks ago, the Indian wrestler had the backing of an entire country after her heartbreaking disqualification from the Paris Olympics. But Fogart is now retired. And from the wrestling mat, she has officially entered the political ring by joining the Congress, India's main opposition party.
Vinesh Fogart has officially started a new chapter in her life. After years of dealing with the demands of a brutal sport, Fogart is now ready for a different kind of combat sport. Along with fellow wrestler and Olympic medalist Bajrang Punia, the 30-year-old has joined the Congress party. The announcement comes just a month before the assembly elections in Haryana, her home state.
I want to help people, especially women, with the same amount of dedication and hard work as I put into my wrestling career. I will stand with women and against any injustice that they suffer.
हर एक उस महिला के साथ में हम खड़े हैं जो अपने आप को लाचार, अपने आप को बेबस समझती है.
Now Fogart's foray into politics isn't a complete shock. She extended her support to the farmers' protest 2 years ago, which was against the government's agricultural reforms. But more notably, she played a key role in the wrestlers' protest against the former Federation chief Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, who has been accused of sexual assault. Singh faces trial but has denied any wrongdoing. The demonstrations went on for almost the entirety of 2023, but in May last year they took an ugly turn. Dramatic images showed Fogart and other distinguished wrestlers being manhandled by the Delhi police. Those clips made global headlines and put pressure on the authorities to take action against Singh. There has been no shortage of drama in her sporting career as well. Fogart, who is arguably India's greatest ever female wrestler, is an Asian Games champion and two-time World Championship bronze medalist. But it is the Olympic medal that she craved the most. After an exceptional performance at the Paris Olympics, she was within touching distance of fulfilling her dream of an Olympic title. But Vinesh suffered the ultimate heartbreak. She was disqualified from the competition on the day of the gold medal match after weighing in 100 grams above the 50 kg limit. A day later, she announced her retirement from the sport. Vinesh even appealed to the Court of Arbitration for Sport against her disqualification, but it wasn't to be. Fogart's life has seen several twists and turns, but this is Indian politics, and she must expect the unexpected. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Our next story comes from Japan. Parents in the country are angry and they are calling for an end to the practice of topless health tests in schools. You heard that right. Children have been asked to strip to the waist during routine school health exams. The exams, which involve both boys and girls as young as 5 and up to 18 years old, have sparked widespread discomfort and in some cases trauma among students. In some parts, students in senior high schools are asked to remove their shirts and bras during the examinations. The issue has come to attention now because the children have also been too embarrassed to speak up about it. According to testimony cited by British daily The Guardian, teachers asked students to lift their tops, completely exposing the chest. It's shocking and frankly outrageous that it has gone on for so long. The issue, in fact, is so widespread that it has now become a national issue in Japan. Parents and campaigners are calling on the health and educational authorities to end this practice before the new school year begins in April. The problem is that there is no unified policy on whether children should undress or remain clothed during health checkups. Local education boards are left to decide that in conjunction with the health professionals. While not all schools insist on topless health tests, there are many schools that insist that students remove their t-shirts and, among girls, bras. According to surveys, not just students and parents, even most teachers want the requirement to end. Why shouldn't they, after all? Such health exams can have serious repercussions for children. But there is resistance, reportedly from the Japan Medical Association. And what's shocking is that in some cases, doctors, unsurprisingly mostly male doctors, have threatened to stop performing the exams if they are forced to change the procedure. And this is despite a notice issued by the Education Ministry, which was issued early this year, asking boards of education to establish a medical examination environment with consideration for privacy and feelings of students. The ministry also called for separate examinations for boys and girls and suggested using partitions or curtains. Kyoto City changed its policy under pressure from parents. But the problem still persists. Such practices show the utter lack of respect for students and their dignity. After all, what is the point of these checkups if they end up inflicting more harm in the long run? For our next story, we want to start by asking you a question. Has social media ever made you feel bad about yourself or your body? If your answer is yes, just imagine the detrimental effects it has on teenagers. If you are a parent, you would do anything to protect your child from the dark side of social media, right? You could perhaps take away their phone, but then they might still find other ways to be online. No matter what you do, your child can still be exposed to content that can be detrimental to the way they feel about their looks, about their body. Then, shouldn't social media giants be held accountable? Shouldn't they be doing more to shield young people from damaging fitness and body image content? Now, we don't know about the others, but it seems like YouTube is taking a step in the right direction. According to reports, YouTube is going to stop recommending videos to teenagers that idealize specific fitness levels, body weights, or physical features. It looks like YouTube is listening to experts warning that such content could be harmful if viewed repeatedly. 13 to 17-year-olds will still be allowed to view these videos, but its algorithms will not push young users down a rabbit hole. YouTube's global head of health, Dr. Garth Graham, said, I'm quoting, as a teen is developing thoughts about who they are and their own standards for themselves, repeated consumption of content featuring idealized standards that start to shape an unrealistic internal standard could lead some to form negative beliefs about themselves, quote unquote. The new guidelines, which have been introduced in the UK and around the world, apply to content that, one, idealizes some physical features over others, such as beauty routines to make your nose look slimmer. Number two, idealizes fitness or body weights, such as exercise routines that encourage pursuing a certain look. And number three, encourages social aggression, such as physical intimidation. YouTube will no longer recommend these topics to teenagers who have registered their age with the platform as logged-in users. The safety framework has already been introduced in the US. This is a big step forward. It means that there is a recognition here that changing algorithms can positively make a difference. It shows accountability. It shows tech responsibility. And it is perhaps a wake-up call for other platforms. As YouTube sets a precedent, will the others follow? The way we drive vehicles is changing, and changing at a rapid rate, by the way. For over a century, we have driven cars fueled by petrol or diesel. But now, as the prices surge, their supply peak, and with the decline in its production inevitable, electric vehicles and hydrogen vehicles are increasingly becoming a new reality, a reality that even the world's biggest automobiles are recognizing and accordingly adapting their manufacturing, keeping an eye on the present and the future in mind. In one more such instant, German automobile giant BMW will reportedly manufacture its first hydrogen-powered car from 2028 onwards. As per reports, BMW has been testing hydrogen prototypes since 2022 and is now ready to take a gamble on consumer demand for hydrogen vehicles instead of being powered by electric batteries. Experts view hydrogen as a gamble in cars, as the technology they claim is better suited for heavy vehicles like trucks and buses, where electric batteries are a disadvantage in comparison due to their long recharging time, among other such reasons. Reportedly, BMW will heavily depend on its partnership with Japanese automobile giant Toyota on hydrogen fuel cell technology. BMW has so far not commented on the expected production volume of the hydrogen cars or its estimated price. Experts said that similar to electric vehicles, it is likely that the price of hydrogen cars will be higher than a conventional petrol or diesel vehicle, primarily due to the cost of the technology. Maximum driving range for such hydrogen cars is speculated to be anywhere between 450 to 600 kilometers. With its latest announcement, BMW joins a growing list of major automobile manufacturers that are producing hydrogen or electric vehicles. Italian automobile manufacturer Ferrari, synonymous with motor racing, in fact announced it will produce an electric car late next year. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good weekend.
This week on World of Africa, Chinese lenders approve $4 billion in loans to Africa in 2023, the first annual increase since 2016. Crime statistics in South Africa reveal alarming numbers. Over 6,000 people murdered between April and June this year, most of them women and children. And Morocco embraces eco-tourism by offering visitors more sustainable experiences. All this and more this week on World of Africa at these times.
On Wings this week, we feature Ganesh Chaturthi that is kicking off now. And food in focus during the festival. We cover La Tomatina Festival in Spain and other wild events worldwide. Before bringing you stories from the United Kingdom for history buffs, only on WION World is One.
This week on Tech It Out. Watch me in a candid conversation with Boat's co-founder and Chief Marketing Officer Aman Gupta.
We want to go global. Our aspirations don't end here.
We tell you about electric boats that are making waves without the noise. And find out how AI is revolutionizing the future of learning. This and more on WION World is One at these times.
This week on the West Asia Post. 500,000 protesters took to the streets and called on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to secure a hostage deal. Has the Israeli Prime Minister failed the hostages? As mediators try to seal the Gaza ceasefire deal, Israeli forces continue to pound Gaza and occupied West Bank. In a high-stakes operation, Turkish intelligence have uncovered Mossad's secret financial network. Also on the show, amid looming threat of Iran's revenge attack, there are questions over the capabilities of Tehran's ballistic missiles. Watch the West Asia Post with me, Radi Francis, only on WION, World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 PM IST, 3:30 PM GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Namaste. Hello, friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
Hello and welcome. You're watching WION The World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start this broadcast by taking a quick look at what is making headlines at this hour.